Jake. During the 8th grade, a girl named Cindy borrowed a Ouija board from a friend. Cindy has 3 older sisters, a younger brother, and a younger sister. Her family is very religious, so she knew she would get in big trouble if her parents found her playing with a Ouija board. Cindy convinced her 3 older sisters to stay up late with her one night and play with the Ouija board once their parents went to sleep. While playing with the Ouija board, Cindy was in awe, and she slowly became obsessed with it. Every day after school, Cindy would be all alone in her home for about an hour or so before her older sisters got home. All day during school, all Cindy could think about was rushing home so she could play with the Ouija board. One day, Cindy got what she wanted. The Ouija board made contact. It was a very dark and rainy Monday. Cindy had a candle in her room with the Ouija board on her bed. She asked the question, "Is anybody there?" And she sat quietly staring at the Ouija board. All of a sudden, the Ouija board slowly spelled out, "Hi." Cindy could not believe it. She finally made contact. Oddly enough, Cindy was not afraid. She was very, very excited. She then asked, "Who are you?" The Ouija board spelled out, "Jake." Now Cindy had a friend named Jake who died in a car accident in the 4th grade. Cindy said with excitement, "Jake, is that really you?" The pointer moved to yes. Over the next hour, Cindy had a very long conversation with Jake. And every day after school, Cindy would rush home and talk to her old, dead friend. As time went by, Jake started to become more and more sinister. Eventually, Cindy realized that this was not Jake. She demanded to know who she was talking to. The entity revealed itself as a demon and threatened Cindy to never tell a soul about their conversations. Cindy's family started to see a very big change in Cindy's behavior. She became very reclusive and negative. One day, Cindy's older sister found Cindy sitting in the corner, curled up in a ball, talking to herself. Her family had no choice. They had to submit her to a nearby mental facility. It took a very long time for Cindy to return back to her happy, loving former self. Whole town goes mad. March 1920. Police in a small Southern California town arrested 7 people. These 7 people, for no apparent reason, just started to go completely nuts. They were running around town completely naked and screaming as if they were possessed. Over the next couple of days, this madness spread like wildfire. A young girl, only 15 years of age, was running around completely naked, and when asked why, she replied that she could communicate with spirits better when she was naked. Even a police officer, stripped naked, ran into a bank and started to scream hysterically. The people in this small town were terrified. The town's official called in as many specialists as he could find in hopes that they could find out what the heck was going on, as more and more people were just started to go completely insane. While investigating the cause of this supernatural-like phenomena, they discovered it all started when 7 of the town residents started to play with a Ouija board, and these were the first people to get arrested. As time went by, this phenomena slowly began to fade, and the town eventually returned to normal. Now, after this bizarre incident, the city government banned all Ouija boards in hopes that whatever this was would never happen again. The Santa Clara County Prison Ouija board incident. This is a good one. Inmates in a California jail made a Ouija board out of a Scrabble board and decided to get together and have a Ouija board session. And these were hardcore Latino gang members. During the Ouija board session, these hardened criminals started to go completely insane. The warden was notified and went to go see what the heck was going on with these inmates. Now, he could not believe what he was seeing. One of the inmates told the warden that he was possessed by the devil. The warden ran to the phone and called in a priest. The priest decided to perform an exorcism. Not too long after the exorcism, the inmates returned back to their former selves. Now, I'm not sure if the exorcism cured these inmates or if it was just time, as most Ouija board victims just require time for them to get back to normal. Now, not in all cases, but most of the time, according to my top secret sources. Alexandra. This next real Ouija board story got a lot of attention. 3 Americans were visiting family in Mexico. Alexandra, her brother Sergio, and their cousin Fernando were very bored, and they decided to play with the Ouija board. While playing with the Ouija board, Alexandra started to growl and enter a very eerie trance-like state. Fernando and Sergio immediately called the paramedics. When the paramedics arrived, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. They immediately restrained Alexandra. Then Sergio and Fernando started to experience blindness, deafness, and they also started to hallucinate. They were all taken to the hospital and treated with sedatives and painkillers. It took a little while, but all three eventually returned back to normal. Now this story got national news due to the fact that someone recorded Alexandra while she was displaying this very odd behavior. I feel very bad for Alexandra, as why would someone want to record her when she was in such a state of distress? But at least in the end, it warned the world what happens when you play with the Ouija. The possession. In 1951, a young boy's aunt always encouraged her nephew to play with the Ouija board. Now I don't know if the aunt was evil or she just didn't know any better. The aunt suddenly died and the young boy was very, very sad and decided to use the Ouija board in hopes that he might get the chance to talk with her again. Not too long after the Ouija board experiment, very strange things started to happen within the house. The family started to hear scratching on the walls. Then objects would just fly off the shelves, terrifying this family. Then the young boy started to get very odd scratches all over his body. One night the young boy's parents heard their son screaming at the top of his lungs. When they ran into his room, they saw that his bed was levitating. They say the young boy eventually got possessed by a demon and spent the next year in and out of mental health facilities. And he had dozens and dozens of exorcisms performed on him. The Washington Post first reported this incident on August 10, 1949. The article stated that medical science could not cure this boy, but a Catholic priest could after he performed an exorcism. And this true story fueled the fire for the movie we know as The Exorcist. And it all started when the young boy used a Ouija board. The creepy online Ouija board experiment. 3 Colombian teenage girls wanted to play the Ouija. They didn't have a Ouija board, but one of the girls remembered that there was a website where you could actually play the Ouija board online. I have never tried it, so I have no idea how it would work online, but what happened next is actual events. After their online Ouija session, the 3 girls started to suffer blackouts and show some very, very disturbing behavior. One of the girls started to speak in a very dark and a very creepy man's voice. She was threatening and scaring the crap out of everybody. The 3 girls were so disturbed that the principal had no choice and shut down the whole school. The 3 girls were immediately taken to a mental facility for examination, making this very bizarre incident get a lot of press in South America. Now, I personally believe that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, when playing a Ouija board, there is a chance that one can make contact. 90% of the stories I hear, and ones that do seem to be very credible, involve dark energy, or demons if you will. Just maybe the Ouija board does open up portals or invites these evil entities to possess you. There are also a lot of stories of people contacting something via the Ouija board, and these entities, or whatever they are, can predict the future, and sometimes even help solve crimes. So it's not all evil. And I will be covering those very interesting stories very soon. But most of the time, if something does make contact with the Ouija board, it does seem to be demonic in nature. So please, do not risk it.